This is the podcast helping to create, provide, and expand
winners in life.
Positively life-changing experiences through music for all.
Go for it!
This is the podcast that encourages everyone to
break ranks.
This time on Break Ranks.
Band and color guard. That is where students can find a family. They can find a tribe.
We talk color guard with Stephanie Click.
You start those kids in 6th and 7th grade just the same way that you would start a clarinet player.
Color guard coordinator at Seven Lakes High School near Houston.
Do you think that in a lot of high school music programs, color guard is an afterthought?
I think in a lot of programs, yes.
If that's the case at your school, stick around for some great advice.
It really has, I think, lifted and elevated our entire program.
We are spinning, tossing, catching, even dancing on this week's Break Ranks. After starting out with one regional in Toledo, Bands of America's championship season really got cranking this past weekend with 4 regionals from New Mexico to Ohio. Let's start on the edge of the Chihuahuan Desert in Las Cruces, where Nick Costello was on the mic.
And in first place, with a score of 75.555, the 2024 Bands of America New Mexico Regional Champion, the Fossil Ridge High School Marching Band from Colorado.
Winning all captions, Fossil Ridge High School of Fort Collins, Colorado took gold in Las Cruces, with their crosstown rival Loveland High School taking silver in finals. East Lake High School of Texas was third. In prelims, East Lake was the 4A champion, Fossil Ridge took the 3A title, Loveland 2A, and the Class A champ was Thatcher High School of Arizona. Now to Fortress Obetz in Obetz, Ohio.
And in first place, with a score of 79.75, the 2024 Bands of America Central Ohio Regional Champions, the Kiski Area High School Marching Band from Vandergrift, Pennsylvania.
BOA announcer Brad Bell with another regional championship for Pennsylvania's Kiski Area High School. Kiski is a 3-time BOA Class 2A national champion. They're getting off to a very strong start in 2024. They took the music and GE captions to finish a half point ahead of Ohio's Lakota West High School in finals. Lakota West claimed the high visual honors. Campbell County High School from Kentucky finishing third in finals at Obetz. As for the class champions, Kentucky's LaRue County High School was the Class A champ. 2A went to Kiski Area, the 3A title to Illinois' Prospect High School, and Lakota West won 4A. Next up, we head to Round Rock, Texas, my first BOA regional of the year.
And in first place with a score of 84.55, the 2024 Bands of America Austin Regional Champion, the Vandergrift High School Marching Band from Austin.
What a display of excellence from the Vandergrift Vipers and Vision Dance Company. Their show Chasing Infinity has them chasing gold, sweeping all 3 captions on their way to the title in Round Rock. Vandergrift is one of the high schools in the Leander Independent School District, a district with phenomenally strong music programs. In fact, 6 of the top 7 bands in finals at Round Rock are in the Leander ISD. Cedar Park is one of them. CP came in second in finals at Round Rock, with another Leander powerhouse, Rouse High School, in third. Vandergrift was also the 4A champ in prelims. Cedar Park took the gold medallions in 3A, and Gatesville High School of Texas, the Class 1A champ. Finally, we head down to the Rio Grande Valley for the McAllen Regional, where, unfortunately, high heat caused the suspension of prelims in the afternoon, as well as the cancellation of finals. Instead of finals, they finished out the prelims once the field cooled down in the evening, and they used those prelim scores to crown champions.
And in first place, with a score of 76.950, the 2024 Bands of America South Texas Regional Champion, the Roma High School Marching Band from Roma, Texas.
Roma High School was our overall champ in McAllen, taking the music and visual captions. Second place, John B. Alexander High School took general effect to come in second, with Trinity High School from Euless, Texas in third. The class champions in McAllen were Port Isabel 1A, Roma 2A, Edinburgh High School the 3A champ, and John B. Alexander takes gold in 4A. Well, this time on Break Ranks, we're going to rectify something that I think is a fault of my own. We don't concentrate enough on the color guard element of marching band. And that's what we're going to do in this show. And I can't think of anybody better to talk about color guard in a high school marching band than Stephanie Click, who is the color guard coordinator for Seven Lakes High School in the big, thriving Houston suburb of Katy, Texas. Hi, Stephanie Click.
Hello, how are you?
I am great. Can you, before we dive into the color guard world, can you give us a little bit of your CV? Where do you come at the marching activity from?
So I was born and raised in a little small town in Kentucky, and so very rural roots. I went to college there and then met my husband, Don Click, who was in Nashville at that point, and so moved to Nashville. I had been teaching color guard since actually the year after I graduated from high school. Just started with little small programs there, continued to teach in Nashville. I taught at Father Ryan. I taught at Brentwood High School and Columbia Central. My husband is a percussionist and took a job at a drum manufacturer here in the Houston area. And so we up and moved to Texas in 2006. At that point, I had a 2-year-old and a 3-year-old and decided maybe that I would take a little break. But my background's in public relations, so I continued to do corporate work in marketing and digital marketing, and then jumped back into color guard teaching and subbing in around 2008 at Seven Lakes, remarkably, and have stayed there ever since. And have seen that school and that program grow and grow, and now am in charge of the whole shebang.
In charge of the whole color guard, or are you program coordinator?
In charge of the whole color guard.
Okay. How many student participants do you have in your guard at Seven Lakes?
We have 110 from grades 6 through 12.
Oh, my goodness. And for the competitive Seven Lakes marching band, how many you put on the field?
We put 88.
That is a massive number of guards.
It is.
Of course, Seven Lakes, a very big band as well.
Yes, it is.
Let's go start right there. What are some of the unique challenges to teaching a guard that large?
Well, I think one of the unique challenges is kind of the same as everybody else, is that we don't have a whole lot of staff. We have obviously me as a director. We have a great booster program, but really about 3 techs that are there every day. So one of the unique challenges is that we have to be extremely organized. Texas has UIL in the fall, so we only have 8 hours of rehearsal, and making sure that we are reaching every student and teaching to every level, because there are many with that many students in the allotted time that we have. The other thing is that we have a very diverse population at Seven Lakes. We're in Fort Bend County in Texas, which is the most diverse county in the entire United States.
Wow.
And so I have always had at least 1 and sometimes 2 students that are new to this country that may not even speak English. And so we have some language challenges and cultural challenges that we work through to just kind of get everybody on board for what marching band is. So if you didn't grow up in this country, Houston is huge in oil and gas. So there are a lot of people that move in that are international students, and teaching them what marching band is and what the color guard element is one of several of our unique challenges that we have at Seven Lakes.
I had never considered that. Of course, introducing them to the band at Seven Lakes and the program and the instruments. I understand that, but I had never thought about,
yes,
you've got students who don't even know what marching band period is.
Right.
Can you just give me a little bit, Stephanie, of, let's say I just arrived here from the Middle East and I'm a new student. I got no idea what marching band is or what color guard is, but I'm interested. What does that discussion sound like?
So that discussion sounds like we're a high school of 4,000 students. And so to me, I'm a mom. My kids are college age now, but I know what it's like for my students as a freshman to go into that high school with all of these people. And so my sell to the international families is always, your student needs a group of people where they can belong. And we all know, listening to this, that band and color guard percussion, that is where students can find a family. They can find a tribe there. And so there's often videos. We'll show videos because music is an international language. Everybody understands that. And then you're pointing to, okay, so we're the people with the flags. We're the dancers.
Wow.
Because people understand dance as well. And so really trying to talk through what our element is. And then after that point, because we do have so many international students, I will always try to find a student that speaks that common language. And so when we set up a block, I will make sure if you are a Japanese speaking student, that you have another Japanese speaking student that is beside you. So, vocabulary and terminology that we use in band and we use in teaching is our own language. And so often that doesn't translate well, but that student who has maybe lived in that culture before can translate or can show a little better maybe than what I can.
That's just a fascinating little side road I wanted to go down for a little bit. That is a very unique challenge. But, I say that more and more high schools are facing that exact same challenge.
They are.
So great advice. Okay, back to the rehearsal field. You got these 88 guard members out there. You've got 3 techs helping you with the color guard. How do you communicate to those techs, and what does an ensemble and a sectional rehearsal look like?
So if we're in an ensemble rehearsal, I'm usually on the field. I don't teach a lot from the tower. I like to be boots on the ground, and I'm really the person that's kind of floating from section to section. We use a lot of technology, so, it's not uncommon for me to maybe be on side 1 and see a student or a section of students on side 2 struggling, and we will call. So we all know that we have our phones in our hands, and I will call, I will text back and forth. I think it's the modern walkie-talkie. That's really how we communicate all the way through. We do a lot of videos at the end of rehearsal, and then I will talk over those. So I will do a screen record where I am actually talking through that with the text of, okay, when you're here tomorrow and we have this 2-hour block, this is what we're going to start with. And this is what I want you to look at specifically. Then I'll do another one that will go to the student. We use an app to communicate with the students, and I'll upload that video so that they can not only see, but they can, I'm telling them as well, let's look at this section right here, checkpoints, or where to listen, the listening environment. Are we listening to the percussion? Most of them, maybe if they don't have a musical background, they have no idea what the drum major's doing. So telling them to watch the drum major is pretty, doesn't always work out. But trying to give them a place where they can listen, somewhere and they can guide to, watching a horn player's feet, that type of thing I can do in a talk through video. So we use a lot of technology.
What app do you use for sharing those videos?
We use Sports U. We've used Band app in the past as well. It just happened, it's blocked on our district servers and Sports U is not. So we switched over this year, but we use Sports U.
Do you use an app for sharing choreography and drill as well, like UDB or anything like that?
We do. We are a UDB school.
Okay. For those who, aren't doing that yet, what is that like and how helpful is it?
It's unique here. So UDB, I think, is very helpful. So it's basically, if you haven't used it before, the drill charts are on the student's device. So they have their device with them. It can show them their exact coordinate, but it can also show them the pathway that they need to go. So if you're in a really large program like we are, you can see, oh, here, I'm actually supposed to go around this tuba player to get to my spot. We're not supposed to collide on count 4. I'm supposed to go around. But the other thing that is really helpful about UDB is that it also gives me the option that I can go to students and they can see the entire form. So sometimes they may be going to their spot, but when they look at it and I'm able to look at it, I can click on a dot and it'll tell me exactly what student that is, which is really helpful in a band this large, that maybe from the tower, I can see this person is just really out and I can't tell who that is from so far away, but I can click on it on my director's view and it'll pop up with the student's name and I know exactly who I need to talk to or who to tell, hey, move back 3 steps.
You're listening to Break Ranks. My guest is Stephanie Click, the color guard coordinator for Seven Lakes High School outside Houston in Katy, Texas, one of the typically huge Texas bands. You guys are a 6A high school, right?
We are, yes.
Stephanie, I don't know how to approach this. It's kind of, I guess, a sensitive topic, but do you think that in a lot of high school music programs that the color guard is, for lack of a better phrase, an afterthought for the band director?
I think in a lot of programs, yes, that is the case. I think that the color guard is probably one of the most expensive parts of the band. Their costumes are typically more expensive. You're buying flag silks every year. They're an expensive part of the band. And I think we've seen some bands in Texas go the way of maybe their color guard maybe becoming a dance team where they're not having to buy the equipment, that type of thing. And I think maybe sometimes with the band director, it's just that maybe they don't know that they are maybe intimidated by a lack of knowledge about what the color guard is or how to communicate with them. They're not really up on the terminology or how to communicate with those kids. And I think it's often maybe not something that they're meaning to do, but it's just kind of like, or I've hired a director, I'll just let them do it. And so the band director kind of backs away and it, is just kind of a second thought. I'm lucky at Seven Lakes that I'm in a unique position where I am at the school all day long. So I teach a color guard class. We have rehearsal before school, but then I have an office that connects with the band director's office. So our 4 band directors are all in one huge office. I have a door that actually connects to them. So the conversations that happen in the band office all day, I'm a part of, and I'm able to speak to the color guard. Maybe our perspective or, okay, well, if you plan the rehearsal like this, hey, remember that we still need XYZ. But in the same return, the flip side is that I hear the perspective of the musicians as well. Or I can, I hear, well, we need this rehearsal for music. Absolutely fine. Where can I go while you have that music rehearsal so the kids just aren't standing there, for 45 minutes while you're trying to work this woodwind passage? And it really has, I think, lifted and elevated our entire program because I have a musical background. I have a music minor, but I'm always thinking about the color guard. That's my job. But I'm also able to hear those perspectives. So increased communication with the band directors and myself, I think, is one of our kind of secrets to success here at Seven Lakes.
So I imagine that would be one of the first pieces of advice you would give to a color guard director who's frustrated with the attention that they get from the band director. What else would you tell them?
I think I would tell them as well to just pick your battles. We hear that that's kind of a cliche phrase a lot. And so, decide what's really important to you. And, there's all that phrase, what's the hill you're going to die on? So for me, it's that we will always have a junior high program as well. You start those kids in 6th and 7th grade, just the same way that you would start a clarinet player. You do that and you try to take them all up through you. So that's my hill. But depending on your program, you have to decide what that is. Is that you're not getting enough rehearsal time? And so, that you really have to advocate for that, but you can't advocate for everything. Everything can't be a fight and a struggle. You need to pick what your priorities are and go to bat for those things, get those in place. And then maybe the next season, the next year, okay, we got this settled. Now let's figure out what else we need to do.
If I'm a band director, say of a smaller program or a program that hasn't had or maybe has lost their color guard director, and I'm having trouble finding that talent to come in and teach my performers, how do you recruit a good color guard instructor?
I think a lot of people have a misnomer that it is money or that it's performance experience. And I don't think that that's the case. I think a lot of times what you're looking for is a personality, that you're looking for a person that can be very respectful with the members. Obviously, they have to have some sort of experience or learning, but we're just really lucky. There's so much on YouTube now. There's so many companies out there that, you can hire a choreographer and they can send you a YouTube video and you're learning from the YouTube video. But I think this generation of students that has been raised with technology, they have been raised online. They're really looking for a personality that will keep those students. I was raised in a really small program. The largest guard we ever had the whole time I was in high school was 16. So I remember my roots. That's important to me as well. But I think when you're trying to recruit and you're thinking about who do I want to bring into this program, I think you're trying to bring in someone who is going to be able to relate to those students, especially if you're in a small program, because you want to keep those numbers either steady or you want to increase them. And that's going to happen by the personality of whoever you put in front of them on a day-to-day basis.
When I'm lucky enough to be down in the tunnel or at the entrance gate before a band comes out, I talked a little bit with Patrick Maneri about this last week.
Mm-hmm.
You watch the performers get hyped up or psyched by their instructors. I'm always fascinated to watch the color guard because it's always a more intimate hype. They have even deeper seated traditions, I think, in the guard that they do sometimes in the horn line or in the winds or in the battery. How do you prepare a guard to go out on the field? And what advice do you give color guard instructors about the rituals that take place right before a performance?
I think the rituals are really important. And I think that the more rituals that can be started by the students, the better. But for me, it's about calming those nerves and getting them not so relaxed that they lose the focus. But if you can make them laugh, if you can make them giggle, and you have to make it about the team, that it's always about how they can connect to one another. So whether, you cross hands and you're holding hands, we had a little chant last year where we were like, I'm better than the wind. I'm better than the wind. We would say it over and over and over. And it was just a funny little thing that kind of broke the moment, but it also kind of built them up of like, yes, it's just wind. It's just wind. And so you have to kind of, take that pressure off of them a little bit and never, ever, ever make it about winning. Never make it about success. Always make it about, are we better today than we were on Thursday? Yep, we sure are. Okay, let's go show everybody. So just those types of things, and really just taking that pressure off, because the adrenaline's going to set in. When the drum major counts off and the first beat happens, adrenaline and muscle memory are going to take over to a certain extent. So if you can kind of get them out of their own heads while they're standing there in that tunnel and make it a little bit of a lighter moment, that was my advice. I think that always works well.
Okay, and as a musician, not a color guard person, I've got to know, you rehearse all week, and let's say it's calm winds all week while you're rehearsing, or you're rehearsing inside. Mm-hmm. Then you get their prelims on Saturday, and the wind's blowing 25 miles an hour right across the field.
Yes.
How do you cope with that? What do you tell the performers, and what adjustments do you make?
We have a wind plan, and so we have a part A and a part B for every toss, and we make that call in warm-up. And so luckily we don't have an indoor facility in our district. So there are some days, because sometimes, and it will happen to all of us, the wind is calm in warm up and it decides it's going to blow 25 miles an hour, as soon as the first downbeat happens. But we have a part A and a part B, and we try to make that call in warm up of what it's going to be for that day. But sometimes you just got to run after it. And so, I just always tell the members, listen, those judges in the press box, they've been doing this for years. They know the wind kicked up. There's always a benefit of the doubt. These people are also people. They are also humans. And they know if you're running after it, that you're giving it all you got.
Well, I want to end this by talking a little bit about your family, because for those who don't know, Stephanie and Don Click are a pageantry power couple. They have tentacles here and there and everywhere through the marching band and drum corps world. And you just came off a remarkable summer where you and your husband, Don, documented a lot of your travels on YouTube and on Facebook. Mm-hmm. Tell me about your kids and where they were this summer.
So we have a son, Avery, who just turned 21, and he spent a summer at the Cavaliers. He's a marimba player. So he did Carolina Crown in 22 and then Cavaliers in 23 and 24. He's a senior at the University of Alabama. He's going to graduate in May, but he has one more DCI. So he's going to be one of those kids that graduates from college and then goes and does another summer of drum corps.
Awesome.
And then my daughter, Piper, is 19, and she just finished her third season in the color guard at the Blue Devils. So she did her first season the summer between her junior and senior year and has done all 3 years there. She's also at the University of Alabama, wanted to follow her brother. So she's there. They've both been members of the $1 Million Band, have done college band, indoor drumline, WGI, Piper marching, winter guard. But this particular summer and last summer as well, I serve as a volunteer. And so I volunteered at the Blue Devils. I'm actually the lead on their uniform team. And for me as a director, it's a great opportunity because it lets me remember how it feels to be a volunteer again.
Yeah.
And a lot of times I think as a director, we forget what we're asking our boosters to do.
I totally get that.
Yes. But I would do, maybe 10 days on with the Blue Devils, and then I'd come home and see the dog for 4 days. And then I would go and do maybe 5 days with the Cavaliers and bounced back and forth all summer and truly had the time of my life getting to watch my kids and Dawn at the Colts. It's pretty remarkable to see kind of our whole family go and come full circle.
Yeah, it's been fun to watch from the outside, that's for sure. And
thank you.
It's been a fun discussion right here. Man, some great advice for both color guard instructors and for band directors. Stephanie Click, we appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Stephanie Click, color guard coordinator at Seven Lakes High School in Katy, Texas.
This week, there are Bands of America regionals in Des Moines, Iowa, Louisville, Kentucky, Shenandoah, Texas, Odessa, Texas, and I'll be your announcer on the campus of Texas State University in San Marcos. Whatever happens at those shows, you'll hear about it right here next week. Until then, I'm Dan Potter. Go for it. Break ranks.